Alright, hi everyone. Welcome back to White Rabbit's Jumpchain. Now, in the last video, I got a couple questions about, more or less what I would do while I was in the actual Pokemon Jump, and, which Pokemon I might try to get. I don't really know. Part of why I, say I do this realistically is that realistically I have no idea what I would actually do. One way or the other. It's like everyone says they're gonna do this or that, but when you're put in the actual situation, you have no idea. So also a lot of this chain would be, is going to be theoretical. I am going to keep going 2 jumps because theoretically, as far as I know, I survived. But to, I guess, give a little bit more story and background to the sort of things that I would actually probably try to do, I might take on a couple gyms in the Pokemon world. I don't know that I'd be very interested in that. I don't know that I would be very plot-oriented. I would likely just be more interested in seeing how day-to-day life was lived, which seems boring, but I would consider it to be fascinating to see how different and yet, similar things were. Also, trying to pet as many Pokemon as I could. And, that would probably be to my detriment at some point. But I think something else that I would also do would be to, I would probably continue a hobby that I have now, which is scrapbooking, and I think probably one of the things that I would be putting in my scrapbook would be, magazine articles from the world of Pokemon, or even simple things like, I'm actually going to put a picture up of the page where I actually plan on buying something like this, because I didn't think I'd find something like it, but I did. Would be putting things in my scrapbook like, the labels for things in Pokemon, like the things that were being sold, like medicine, which is what I found, which is really cool. I think I'm gonna get some of those for the scrapbook that I have now. But also things like, the advertisements for food, or just stuff like that I feel like would get overlooked, but that I think I personally would find fascinating, and also would like, I think throughout my chain probably reinforce that this was a thing that actually happened, because I feel like I would probably struggle with that the whole way through the chain. Well, maybe not after enough time, but I think it'd be kind of like when I first moved in to my first place. There was kind of like this disbelief that I actually lived here. Uh, eventually I used to it, and you get settled in, but for a while it's like, wait, I have my own place. What is this? But anyway, as far as the Pokemon I would get, I think since I would be in Kanto, the only Pokemon I think that I would really like, I know there are other regions and I could travel to those other regions, but I think for simplicity's sake, probably the only ones, or only one really, that I think I would be guaranteed to try and catch would be an Arbok. I would probably start with an Ekans, because I'm a big snake lover. I have a snake in real life, and I love him to bits. But I also put a list of other Pokemon that I might catch and bring with me, because in this jump you're only allowed to bring 5 Pokemon and your starter with you to further jumps. I would probably not catch that many Pokemon, or I would try to avoid it, because I would feel bad about leaving them behind. So I think if it all worked out, I would probably have an Arbok, maybe a Rapidash, Gengar, Fearow. I have a soft spot for Fearow. I know most people don't like Fearow, but I do. And since I have the Master Balls, I might try to catch Mewtwo, but that one would be really up in the air, because I would have to get very involved with the plot to do that, and I don't know that I would be bothered with the plot. Anyway, moving on to the second jump. Let me pull it up. The second jump I would be going to would be generic bears. Now for this one, I actually am only going to use 900 of the 1,000 choice point stipend. I'm going to preemptively take that extra 100 of 1,000, and I'm going to go to supplements. This is also going to be in the SB drive. Go down to Jumpchain, gift shop, and for memories from home, I'm going to use that 100 from generic bear and take a friendly face. You can choose one person from your original world to join you as a companion. They will import into your current jump using the import option of your choice from that jump, at no additional charge. After your current jump, they will function like normal companions. This can be taken multiple times. So for this one, I would take Rotaro, who is my husband in real life. I wouldn't want to really go on Jumpchain without him. It would probably have been a good idea to just bring him in during Pokemon, but, you know, since Pokemon traditionally that jump from Quicksilver isn't supposed to have any supplements taken with it, I just figured, you know, I'll just save it for the second jump, it's fine. But I'm going to use that to import him into the generic bears jump, which is a good starter jump, well, depending on the build you end up taking. Now for this one, you get to pick your own location, provided that it falls within your origin. Since I'm going to be taking Zubear, because there's several very useful perks under Zubear, it would have to be in a zoo. That's the only requirement for the location. So I actually did some research on the best zoos in the US, and the number one that came up was the Henry Dorley Zoo in Omaha. Place seems pretty cool. Maybe I'll visit it one day. They have their own like desert dome, like an actual like giant dome that they have a desert in. Oh my god, that's the most obvious thing I've ever said. Anyway, it's really cool. They have like a bunch of stuff like splash park, and since I would be in that zoo, the species I would pick would be panda. So I would probably be in, I believe, the Asian Highlands section of the zoo. This is a very huge zoo, by the way. Which is right next to sloth bears, which will be important later on in the jump. But as for age and gender, you're an adult. That's the requirement, is you're an adult. And for my husband, since I'm importing him, and I believe he gets an 800 an 800 choice point stipend, I would also have him be a zoo bear and a panda, so we could be in the same enclosure. And I also picked panda specifically of the other bears because it is Jumpchain, and I would need to be at least somewhat entertaining. And one of the perks you can get is an escape artist perk, so that I could escape my enclosure semi-regularly, I guess, if I decided to do entertaining things. And generally speaking, when people see a bear out of its enclosure, they are like, oh god, we have to defend ourselves, get the gun. But that's generally not the reaction people get when they see a panda just wandering out of its enclosure. They're just like, oh, it's cute. Not that pandas can't be dangerous, but generally people don't feel threatened by pandas, so it would be less likely that I would randomly get shot in self-defense or perceived self-defense while escaping and getting into shenanigans. Did the same for my husband because, I mean, obvious reasons. But now on to the perks. The first one is free. It's a breeding program. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically to try and repopulate the various endangered bear species, which I have absolutely no interest in doing, and pretty much it's just going on the list because it's free, but it goes away at the end of the jump, so that's fine with me. I don't think I'd be using it all in jump. I just don't care enough, and I'm not into that, so there's that. Secondly would be Black, White, and Asian, which is basically just like the beloved panda, no one seems to be bothered by your differences. So it's one of the all-important everything is fine perks, where basically people aren't going to freak out because you have powers or, you know, otherworldly skills, or because you look not human, or because you're a bear that's walking around and talking like a people. Basically, it's like, oh, it's fine. It just makes them perceive it as fine, so long as you're not going around, like, doing terrible things or murdering people or something. So that's a really important one. Nothing as sexy as a bear. I like to get one of these early. It's basically, it's just your appearance perk. Makes you more or less 10 out of 10. You don't really have to do much to maintain fitness. You're always clean. You pretty much, it's like it's basically Evercleanse and Metavore perks all over again, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having those stacked. But appearance perks are a dime a dozen. They're in like every jump, so usually I'll get one or two and just leave it at that, because I mean, I know there's probably a way to make your beauty weaponized, but I would rather focus on other things. So the next one I'd be taking would be SB Bear. This would be for both my entertainment and because I have Vertaro taking a lot of the same ones that I'm taking so far. He would also have breeding program, Black, White, and Asian, and SB Bear. This would be to basically keep us entertained, because we're in a zoo and we're not going to be escaping all the time, so we're going to have to have something to do during that time. And SB Bear gives you basically mental access to the internet or any computer network. It also lets you basically be an anthro bear. You still look like a bear. You can just, walk on your hind legs, talk, and use your paws as hands and whatnot. So I'm taking it mostly for the internet, and I'm sure that will be useful in the future if I need to search the internet without anyone knowing I'm searching the internet. But yeah, just SB Bear, even though it's a bit expensive for this jump, it's very worth it. So I'm going to go right down to Zoo Bear, which is what I'm getting discounts on. Fascinating to watch. Basically, it makes people really entranced by watching you, and even though you're kind of just sitting in a cage not doing anything, but they like watching you. It does make you immune to boredom, which again is very useful. There's probably going to be a lot of times, not only in this jump but in other jumps, where you don't really have anything to do and you just have to wait for something to happen, so that's good. I don't think Fascinating to Watch works on your patron. I don't think it's going to work on Jumpchain, so unfortunately, don't get your hopes up for that one. But then again, it's your jump. You do what you want. Escape Artist, as I said, pretty much what it says on the tin. You can escape whenever you want. You're pretty much a master of escaping, which I'm assuming also means you're a master of getting back into things. You can't be restrained, which will also be good in future jumps, because I'm sure there's going to be plenty of times when people are going to want to capture you or restrain you and keep you from doing things, and it'll probably be in instances that are far more important than being a bored panda bear in a zoo. Then moving on to the next discounted perk that I would get, which is the main reason that I would be getting Zoo Bear, is well cared for. Basically, this gives you immunity to disease, infection, poison, toxins, and basically you don't become less fit for just basically sitting around and not doing anything. You don't have to exercise to maintain your body. Your skills and your mind don't deteriorate because you happen to be not like using them. You age gracefully, so you're always as active and capable as you were when you were young. Just a great perk to have, and it's very worth it, especially in the long run. Excuse me. I also took Bear Acrobatics because I think I got to near the end of filling out this chain and realized I still had some left over. Basically, again, another thing where it's what it sounds like. That one is from Circus Bear. Trapeze, acrobatics, knife throwing, riding unicycle, etc. I think this would pair very well with Escape Artist. And, I could make things more entertaining by climbing the various attractions, I guess, in the zoo and doing backflips off them because, why not? For Ritaro's perks, he has pretty much the same thing as I do. Let's see, minus Bear Acrobatics and nothing as sexy as a bear. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough for that, but, he's beautiful to me, and I would prefer he get survival perks before perks that would make him more conventionally attractive to others. Because his survival is way more important than looking pretty. Alright, then moving on to items. There's a lot of items to choose for. You did get a 200 choice point stipend. One of the main ones I like to get also is Bear Necessities. Basically, it sets you up with, an income, a house, car. Basically, you have a life set up for you. It's really useful, so you don't have to start with nothing. You already have the documents that you need to own these things. And since you have the documents for those, I can only assume that if you have those documents, that it also provides you with the documents you need, such as ID, etc., which is useful if you are a drop-in, because you would otherwise not have that. You would have no identification, and you would basically be a no one, which, to be fair, most people probably wouldn't notice for a while until, a government or a police officer got involved. And, for a generic bear, bears don't have IDs, so I don't think anyone's going to be looking them up in any database. I took the 50 CP. Usually I like to take the 100 choice point, but to save on choice points and get some other things that I think are important or that I just want, I just went with the 50, which is the basic upper middle class income and housing, which is fine. Now, don't ask me what this is going to do in this jump, because unless there's just going to be an actual house plopped in my enclosure, which would be pretty cool. I'd like that. That would be fun. I don't know what good that would do in this jump, but in future jumps it will definitely be useful. But who knows, maybe with this and this jump I will be a panda bear with a Ford, that just drives around and does donuts. I don't know. The other items I took, let's see. There's Perfect Den, which isn't quite an item. It's kind of more of a perk. But it's like a perk for your items, or more specifically, a perk for your home. Basically, it makes your home comfortable. It's always at the correct temperature. There's always lighting, water supply, and utilities. It expands to hold any extra family or guests. Fully stocked with groceries and sundries. All bills and taxes are paid, and it's not going to get targeted randomly, and unless someone's already following you and track you to this house, they're not going to be able to find your home. Which again will be useful in future jumps because you're going to make enemies. Let's see. I also took the right to bear arms, which again is not really an item, it's more of a perk. But yeah, basically you're able to carry weapons and whatnot out in the open without people having a problem with it or wearing some kind of weird armor, and it's fine. Basically, so long as you're not going around and using that weapon to outright attack people around you, it's fine. You can have the weapon on you, which again, useful in the future in case you get attacked. Then the last item I took was bears. You do get to take a pet bear if you so choose. I decided to take a sloth bear because since I'm a panda and I'm going to be in the Asian highlands, I actually looked at a map of the zoo, and one of the other creatures that is kept in the highlands is the sloth bear. So I figured, you know what, sure, why not? There's already a sloth bear enclosure there. Maybe the panda enclosure would be next to the sloth bear enclosure. Dorley Zoo apparently does not have pandas, which is unfortunate, but, you know, at least then if they were right next to each other, or even if they weren't exactly right next to each other, it would basically give me an excuse to basically climb out of the panda enclosure and go visit my pet bear in the sloth enclosure, which I'm sure plenty of customers and patrons would find absolutely adorable because, oh, look, the bears are friends and they're not the same species. Now for Vertaro, for his items, I pretty much just gave him bare necessities because that was all he could afford. But at least it gives him something to work with, and, you know, even though he would technically probably be living in my home with me in the future, if there was ever a situation where he couldn't do that, or he just needed to live somewhere else because of the jump or something like that, he would at least have something set up for him. And he wouldn't be completely without, basically without resources. Which is also very important to me. Okay, so, I mean, outside of the general escaping and shenanigans, I don't see myself doing much in the generic bear universe that would be considered particularly special, as it would basically be this world, but except I would be a bear, and so would my husband. I would probably just spend a lot of time, well, with my husband as a bear, obviously. Since he also has escape artist, I can kind of see us, you know, breaking out after the doors were closed and, like, breaking into one of the restaurants that are at the zoo. Even though we probably couldn't necessarily eat the things that were there or even, you know, get the food, but hey, we could sit at a table with our fat panda bear butts, or, you know, at least try to, and, you know, just chill. I'm sure that would be interesting to watch on the cameras for the zookeepers, or really frustrating. Also a perk, I think, of picking the panda is that pandas are kind of mischievous and expected to be anyway, so I don't think, unless we were being really weird, that too many of our antics, especially with the black, white, and Asian perk, would be considered out of the ordinary. I think it would just be like, oh, you know, oh, White Rabbit and their mate are at it again, haha. But yeah, I mean, it would, in a way, it would kind of suck because I would be stuck eating, oh my god, I've forgotten what they eat. Help my brain. Bamboo. I almost said eucalyptus. It would suck because I would be eating, you know, bamboo for 10 years. You know, but, well, who knows? With nothing as sexy as a bear, I may be able to get away with eating other things. But I guess that would be part of the adventure, would be, me as a panda trying to eat something I'm not supposed to have and then seeing what happens. Which is probably just me being sick, but you know. It would be interesting, I guess. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this video. I already have another jump set up to make a video for next time. Little, well, not a hint, but it's gonna be Corpse Bride next. So thank you guys for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next jump. Bye!